It's a busy day in the NBA. Jimmy Butler is suspended again. We've got double overtime games. We've got weird, unannounced DNPs. And we've got Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am an engorged man brute. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshlloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there is no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. You customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com, and you will find newsletters for your favorite NBA team. LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up free into your email inbox. We've got a lot to talk about because there are 12 games on today. It's National Daisy Chain, so if you like daisies, if you like daisy chains, either one of those things, you can celebrate today as we recap all of those Monday games. So, yeah, let's start with a little bit of news, though, before we get into too much more. And like I said, General Soreness has been conscripted into the military. He will not be playing again for the Miami Heat for at least the next 5 games. Jimmy Butler is suspended indefinitely. There is surely he's not playing for them again, but who knows? Who knows? He came back, played those 3 little pissy games, and continues to be annoying. And there's always, there could be fault on both sides of this. We know this. Could they have done something differently, and could they have acted differently? But my thing on this all along, and I knew this was brewing for over a year now, is that if Jimmy is going to have problems with organizations and teammates and all that stuff in every stop that he goes to, at some point, it stops being those places' fault. It can't be. It can't be. And the idea of like, well, you won't pay me $60 million, cool. Maybe you don't deserve it. Part of it. Oh, where are my teammates? They're here. Like the whole charade around this guy is so frustrating. It annoys me no end. And it has for a long time. And you're all well aware of that. So we'll talk about Miami later on. But like I've said all the way through this as well, is that Jimmy Butler being suspended now doesn't change anything because he hasn't been playing. He's missed 7 of the last 10 games. So what you've seen is what happens. And if he does get traded, then things change for the worse for most of the other players because other guys come in. But there's no like, oh, who's the grab? Because nothing changes. It's the same stuff that we've seen over the last month. Nothing is different there. We also got some updates from Brooklyn. I don't know why I really highlighted this one, but it was the Cams, Thomas and Johnson. Johnson's not playing before the trade deadline. So, again, said this multiple times. I reiterate that I don't think Cam Johnson plays for the Nets again. Thomas, I think, will. But I think we're talking a couple more weeks here. They are obviously slow playing things so that the GOAT Tosin Ebon can do a little bit more. But if you've got Cam Johnson, don't expect him back playing for the Nets ever, and then his value will drop. Your sell-high window is done with Johnson. Like, that's not happening. But we'll see where it goes from here. We'll see where it goes. And we don't really know because we don't know where he's going or any of that stuff. Let's look at some waiver wire trends before we get into these 12 games. The most added and dropped players over the last 48 hours. Number 1 is Vit Krejci for the Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk about Krejci and the Hawks and their battered down roster today, but that makes sense. He's been very good, and while Jalen Johnson is out, we like it, even though other players returned. Brennan Podziemski, the second most added player. The Warriors don't have a great schedule. Now, they do play tomorrow, but after that, it's not superb. But the minutes are up. I don't mind getting ahead of Podziemski, considering he is pacing those other guys. Zach Edey, the most added player. Talk about that. He was benched for the second half today. He is a bad team merchant. Not that his line was terrible, but he is a bad team merchant. And holding him and using him in every situation is not always going to work. The next one's Gary Trent. I don't know how that Bucks game has gone at the time of recording this, so we'll talk about it later. But I'm very scared that it was chasing. We'll see. Tamani Kamara, excellent schedule for the Blazers. He played very well yesterday. They're giving him more minutes now. 34 a night at the moment. That's totally cool. And then Alex Caruso, I'm guessing that's just the remnants of people streaming him in for yesterday because you shouldn't be having him. They've got 2 games this week and he's not doing enough. So that, I'm guessing, is just a holdover from streaming in from Sunday. The most drop players. Number 1, Cole Anthony. Makes sense. Suggs was back, and Anthony didn't start today. It was Mr. Black who was in there. Lou Dort dropped. Easy. He was terrible yesterday, and they have a bad schedule. Kaysen Wallace. I probably would have tried to hold on to Kaysen, but you know what? That's fine. 2 games. He's not good enough to hold through it. See you later. Nick Smith. We'll talk about that in the Hornets later. People bailed after 1 game, and after the second game today, maybe you could justify it. We'll talk more later. Pig Williams, easy drop. That's big Jalen Williams. They don't play. He's a bench guy. Hartenstein's returned. See ya. And then the Duck, Luke Kennard, who's a stream guy when Morant is out. He didn't play well in their last game, so people moved on. And I think all of that is incredibly reasonable. The first game was the Lakers and the Charlotte Hornets. Let's go into that. The Lakers, same lineup. They win at 112. 107 is your final score here. An absolutely gigantic beginning to this game for Anthony Davis. I think he had 20 and 10 in the first quarter, which is clearly ridiculous. And then he ended up with just an absolute monster performance overall. 42 and 23 with 2 blocks for AD on elite percentage. It's going to be hard to top for the monstrous line of the night. LeBron had 22, 7 and 8, while Austin Reeves 17, 5 and 6 and 3 steals. Bad shooting from Reevesy. Everything else is solid. Remember, no Rui Hachimura, so Dorian Finney-Smith started. He had 6 points in 27 minutes. We don't roster him. And Jared Vanderbilt played 13 minutes. Now, Jared Vanderbilt is a long way to go to get enough minutes to matter, but he had 2 steals. Again, this is what he does. He's that rare big man who gets big steal numbers. That is what he does. He doesn't do really anything else. Actually, I'm sure he usually can be a pretty good rebounder. You don't roster him anywhere, but the Lakers do have a positive schedule period coming up, except he doesn't play tomorrow, I'm guessing. But yeah, we just keep an eye on it. Max Christie's worth streaming in because of a schedule only. He played 1 million minutes, 39 of them. He had 10 points, 3 threes, 3 assists. It's not good every day, but if you're looking to get games in to minimize ads, the Lakers are in a schedule plus spot, so there is a little bit of value in that. On the Hornets side of things, the downside of this is, first of all, Mark Williams returned and he started. Taj Gibson back to the bench. We expected that. And then LaMelo Ball played 9 minutes and sprained his ankle. And I know what you're going to say. I know. Well, actually, you know what? I don't know, because there's going to be numerous things. This guy's a bum. Never drafting him again. Check. Did someone said that already? Secondly, it's the damn shoes. Why isn't he wearing super high tops? Yep, someone said that already. Number 3, where are his ankle braces? He needs to wear ankle braces. Yep, check. The next thing. This is just like Steph Curry. All right, we've got all that out of the way? Cool. I don't know if it's that serious. He stood on Jared Vanderbilt's foot as he was walking back and sprained his ankle. It didn't look massively serious, but given A, his history, and B, this team's standing in the league, I think he misses some time. Do I think this season over for LaMelo? I can't rule that out, but I don't think so. No, I don't. But we will find out. I don't think so. With him out, Vasa Micic is back, sort of. 11 points, 4 assists, 33 minutes for Micic. And yeah, he can be bad. He can have terrible field goals. But getting good assists and big minutes is useful. It didn't really benefit Nick Smith, who played only 25 minutes and had 4 points on 25%. And it's another reminder, it's a slap in the face to remember that he is bad. He is not a good player at all. There'll be nights where he goes off, but he is actually just bad. And the field goal percentage is going to be bad. I still think he probably is worth holding with LaMelo Ball going down. I will probably still hold Nick Smith. But yeah, he is not good. Point blank done. He is not good. So we'll see where it goes. I would be interested in what is going on here with Josh Okogie. 25 minutes, 19 points, 3 threes, 4 steals. There are a couple of caveats I'll throw out here. Cody Martin was out. That helps. LaMelo Ball going down helps. Okogie needs 3 things. I think he needs 3 things to happen, right? He needs to have those guys out to get 30 minutes or 28 minutes or whatever. He needs to shoot well above his actual skill level, and he did it here on 50% shooting from 3, and he needs to get incredibly high steal numbers. All of that happened in this game, and it turned into great value. In the last 2 weeks, he's 101st in 22 minutes. That's unbelievable. It's got no shot of sticking, none. And he's shooting unbelievably well. And it will not hold at that level. If you want to take a stream of him, go for it. But there are a few things there that just aren't going to stick. Josh Green also got 3 steals. He's doing a little bit better. He hit 4 threes too, which is useful. I think I'd probably, I don't know actually. I think I'd probably would go with Okogie over Green, but it's pretty close. Impressively, Mark Williams played 33 minutes. Not impressively, he shot 39 from the field and 1 of 2 from the line. That sucks. But the minutes were very strong, while Bridges had 26, 8, and 4. Not much else going on there, and we just sort of hope that everything ends up okay there for LaMelo Ball and his ankles. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, and now Super Bowl 59. The match is set. The game is set. It's the Eagles, it's the Chiefs. There are endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. You can predict the first touchdown. You can make a call on the MVP. You can guess the coin toss. You can do all of that with live betting as well, all game long on FanDuel. And you can get yourself $200 in bonus bets to use to spend on Super Bowl 59 just by placing your first $5 bet as a new customer and winning it. Simple as that. It is the icing on the cake, the glazing on the donut, the frosting on the cupcake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, that's first game done. We've got 11 more of these big fellas to get through, so let's do it. The second game is the Detroit Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pistons rolled out the same starting lineup because the thick hogsman Tobias Harris was available with his post-traumatic headache, so he was all right and ready to go, and they lose 110-91. What we wanted to watch on the Pistons side is what would happen with Amen Thompson, because he played 30 minutes in the last game. Oh no, he played 20. He missed all 6 of his shots for 0 points. He had 6 rebounds, a steal, and a block, but it is worth remembering, and this is hard because obviously they look the same. He's not his brother. He's not as good as his brother. He doesn't have the opportunity of his brother, and he's not going to provide anywhere near that value. We're talking, of course, about Amen Thompson, but this is Amen Thompson. So we wanted to see, was he pushing to 27-9? Now, this is a blowout, so guys' minutes pushed down, but Durham played 29, Cade played 33, Hardaway played 31, Asar played 20. It's not quite enough. 27 is enough. 23 is not. 20 is blowout sort of. Yeah, I would consider holding Asar if I grabbed him, but he to me is feeling very much just like a back end sort of player. Then the next part of this turns to is, what do you do with Tobias Harris? Get that garbage out of here! Jack, maybe. Harris had 2 points. Yep. He played 27 minutes. He shot 11%. He had 2 rebounds. It is entirely, distinctly, and likely that Tobias Harris is just washed now. He wasn't even this bad to begin this season. He is getting worse and worse and worse. But about 3 games ago, he played 37 minutes. So I'm not sure that 27 is going to stick. But we are getting to that point where if you drop Tobias Harris, I don't know that you're going to regret it. Yeah, he will definitely improve from this. I feel very certain of that because he's not an 11% shooter and he's not going to average 2 points a game. That is true. He is definitely improving. But will it hurt you if you drop him? Will it matter? And I think in a lot of cases, it just won't. He is just going down and down and down. Like the prices at Kohl's. Tim Hardaway had 8 points with 2 threes. Cade had 22, 3, and 7, but not his best. In fact, one of his worst. And Leaky Beasley did the thing. 19 points and 5 threes is what he does. You know you don't get anything else, but you know you get those numbers, and that is exactly what he brought to you. Yet again, that is consistently useful. I think there's a fair way of putting it. Duran had, 12 and 15? 3 blocks. Continues to play quite well. Let's talk about the Cavs. They did roll out the same starting lineup. They still had no Karis LeVert, no Dean Wade, no Isaac Okoro. So let's just go straight to Max Strus. The Winter Soldier played 26 minutes. He had 10, 8, and 2. He hit 2 threes. He had a steal. He had a block. That's really good. And while those guys are out, that's giving him the ability to boost up, he's at least useful enough for streaming. Do I think that Max Strus is must roster? Not really. But there is extra opportunity here. Don Mitchell had 21 with 6 assists. Mobley, still not quite at his best in his 2 games back, but you take 11, 14, and 3 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Garland was awesome with another 22, 5, and 7, and Jarrett Allen was solid, 15, 11, and 31 minutes. Good numbers? Good numbers from all those guys. The guy you wanted to look at there is Milk. Yeah? How did Ty Jerome perform? Well, we got a bit of an extra dollop, 15 points. He shot 64%, and he's in one of his I'm an elite shooter phases. He's doing it. He's doing it well. Last game wasn't so good, but at the moment, he's at least streamable with, again, 3 players out. And that is one of those things when you look, can this maintain long term? Nah, it can't. But often you don't need to worry about that. The only worry you have when you go, hey, is this a long-term thing, is about who do you drop? So say, for example, Tobias Harris. We'll use those two to contrast. If I had someone and it was Ty Jerome and he was playing 27 a night and I go, you've got a 27-minute a night role every single night rest of season, you're doing this, I would drop Tobias Harris and I go, have fun, my guy. Do whatever you need to do. I'll see you next time. And I would add Jerome. Whereas I could add Jerome here. In the next game, those 3 guys come back. He plays 15 minutes and has 3 points. And what's the point of that? It's useless. So that's what I mean about, we can get ahead of it. We can try the short-term stream. The value might be there. Same with Struz. But is there a reason? Is there a path for this being a longer-term thing? And I think that's a good way of approaching a lot of this stuff when we're talking about this silly game called fantasy basketball. Next game, Ooh, no, the Magic lose to the Heat, 125-119 in double overtime. Jalen Suggs, of course, returned, and then he was out. Gary Harris was still out, and that meant that Mr. Black started. 42 minutes for Anthony Black. That's a lot of minutes. He had 14 points, he had 2 threes, he had 5 steals and a block. How did he get so many minutes? Double overtime. Obviously, Cole Anthony also had 5 fouls in 18 minutes. Very, very interesting with Black. Obviously, when Suggs is there, Mr. Black doesn't do it, right? He's not good enough to do it. But that's good enough to at least consider as a stream. We also had the return of the Dart, Goga Badadze. Now, I haven't heard any reporting from Jamal Mosley to suggest that Goga was on any sort of minutes limit, but he did not play in overtime. He was 10-9. He blocked a shot. He was a plus 21, while Wendell Carter was a minus 25, yet Wendell played 36 minutes and Goga played 22. Wendell had 14, 7, and 5. Totally passable game. Totally passable numbers. But I wouldn't drop Goga yet. I wouldn't drop him. I wouldn't be necessarily holding on to Wendell, though. But I wouldn't drop Goga yet. But the fact that this was a double overtime game, we weren't working back from a leg injury for Goga, and he so clearly outplayed Wendell in this game, and they still use Wendell with their best lineups down the stretch, is making me go, is this what Mosley thinks is the guy to pair with Franz and Paolo? Because if he thinks that Wendell is the guy to pair with him, then he's going to be the guy that pairs with him. But we need to watch that. Probably one more game. Another absolute, just a shit sandwich game from Paolo Banchero. 17, 5, and 6. Horrendous field goals, horrendous free throws. Jesus, man, he is really doing nothing. It's bad. And Franz Wagner had 29, 8, and 3, and he was also pretty rough on both percentages too, so just bad from both of those blokes. We got 34 minutes out of Tristan da Silva. I did not think that Aravinda would be doing this, but he had 17, 6, and 5. He hit 5 threes. That's a great game. I still don't really think we need to be worried too much in 12s, but he benefited from the double overtime in this game. KCP had 6 points in 36 minutes because, again, he's not worth holding, so please don't be holding him. We'll go to the Miami side of this, which, of course, it seems like it's an exciting thing. It seems like, Jimmy Butler suspended. It's like I said, we knew. He has been suspended. He was coming off his second suspension and got suspended again. So we know what happened. So they went with the same starting lineup. And we will start with Superman, because it's a very weird game from Khalil Ware. He had 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes of the game and came out. And then I believe he played the entirety of the third quarter, fourth quarter, and first and second overtimes to end with 43 minutes. He only took 8 shots. What? How do I judge this game? Because in the other games, he's had like 24 usages. Usages? Wrong way to say it. 24 usage. But he was like 15 here. Still was a plus 15 in the game. Had 19 and 10, 4 threes, 2 steals, and a block. But what I love is they just said, cool, we're going with you. 43 minutes. Let's do it. Unbelievable sign. Please don't tell me you dropped him. And if you did, please tell me you can get him back. And if someone else did, please go and get him. Bam had 26, 10, and 9. That's very good from him. And Hero was also excellent. 30 and 8 with 12 assists. It was a really good game from Duncan Robinson. Now, I do not believe that Duncan is a must-roster player, but when you get 45 minutes, you want to turn in something good, and he did. 15 points with 4 assists, 3 steals, and 3 threes. It's at least streamable for those threes, while I would definitely have Little Chungus over him. But, as detailed on the preview show earlier today, starting Tuesday through to Monday next week, the Heat play 2 games. 2 games. So, is it worth having Duncan Robinson for that? Probably not, yeah? It is worth having Khalil Ware, and it is worth having Little Chungus, I think. 15, 7, and 2 for him, with 2 steals. That's Nikola Jovic, by the way. Haywood Highsmith had 4 points in his 19 minutes, and Rozier, bloody hell. If you needed any more sign to get rid of him, get that garbage out of here. 23 minutes in a double overtime game, now 2 games in 7 nights, 11 points for Rozier. Just absolutely washed. Absolutely washed old Terry. And did not see that coming at all. And I'm not the biggest Rozier fan. Let's get into a few more of these games now. That is a few of them down, 3 of them down. We've got 9 more to go. What's the next game that we're looking at? We're looking at Memphis. Oh, God. We're looking at the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knickerbockers. Absolute destruction here. 143 New York, 106 Memphis. The Grizzlies had the same starting lineup. No changes there for them. Well, actually, no changes on the Knicks side either. Jaren was awesome, 21-4. He did sprain his ankle, played through it, so we just watched that. And then Zach Edey, like I said, he did not start the second half. He played 19 minutes. Now, his line is good. 11 rebounds and 3 blocks, you take that. But that's not going to be something that happens in 19 minutes. 9 and 11, 3 blocks. And like I've said for maybe the last week or so, he is a bad team merchant. Against the bad teams, they will just, it seems, they will just say, your turn. Against the good teams, they're like, no, Zach, sorry, you're not doing it. I would not be prioritizing having Zach Edey on my team. Morant, what an absolutely just weird / bad season that he's had. Bad. Like, he's just not having, and they're good. Usually they got cooked here. But 10 and 5, 2 assists, no threes, 39%. He stinks. You can't drop him, but man, he has been terrible a lot of the time. And I feel good about this now. I feel good. Not that I feel good, but this is my Santi Aldama. This is from my universe. Josh Lloyd, 616. Santi Aldama had 10 points, played 22 minutes, had 4 rebounds, and was completely mid and not useful for 12 teamers. That's the Santi Aldama I see. That's the Santi Aldama I envisage. Not this bullshit other one who was cooking blokes left, right, and center. And since he's come back from the illness, we've been getting Josh Lloyd 616 Santi Aldama, which is the one that you don't care about in 12s. And if I was you, and I'm not, because I'm me, which is hard enough as it is, I don't want to be you as well, I would not bother with Santi Aldama personally, for me, in my own mind, in my own body, in my own brain. What the hell am I talking about? Desmond Bane had 16 points, good for him. And the Duck had 7 assists, Luke Kennard, which is, interesting. It's not really. It is sort of interesting, but they are using him more as a point guard. Jake LaRavia has a stress reaction in his back, so he played 13 minutes. That makes a lot of sense. And with those guys back, Aldama and LaRavia, Greg Jackson played just 17 minutes. People have added GG Jackson. Please, for the love of God, what are you doing?
Get that garbage out of here.
The only reasonable excuse for adding GG Jackson is that you've already got Rui Hachimura and Taylor Horton-Tucker, and you just want to put all the unrosterable guys together. That's the only thing I can think of. The New York Knickerbockers, easy win for them. Josh the Hitman Hart with knee soreness. They actually played him 27 minutes. Would you look at that? He had 4 points. It wasn't very good, but good that they gave him some rest. While the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, 14 points, 3 steals, 2 blocks, racked up the defensive numbers. We only consider him if Towns is out, and that's not the case now. Brunson had 20 in 25 minutes, which is obviously ludicrous, and Bridges was great. 28, 5, and 6 with a nice Richie Beno. 2 threes, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Not much else to talk about with this team. It was a good, actually, that's not true. Good Juice McBride game. 14, 4, 4, 3, and 1. That's an unbelievably good, well-rounded line. But they won by almost 40 points. So this sort of minutes distribution, where you've got 2 starters for teams playing under 27 minutes, is just not going to happen. So that's great that Juice did that. Well done. Congratulations to you, Miles. It's not anything that has any level of repeatability, I don't think, as we move forward. Okay, the next one, we've got the Houston Rockets going to take on the Boston Celtics. And how about my man, Amen Thompson? Now, doing this job, which is a job that I love doing. I love doing this job. I love talking about basketball. I love doing all of the things that I do here. But there are certain conflicts that you have when you record as much as I do. Is that I loved Amen. I had him clearly number 3 in the draft. I had him in equal second behind Wemby for Dynasty leagues. But this year, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, I don't know how he gets enough minutes. I love him. He's going to have many top 30 seasons. 10 of them in a row is what I said back then. But I don't think it's happening this season because I don't see the minutes. So it seemed like I was anti-Amen. And then he was playing 23 minutes a night, and I was like, I don't think you could hold on. Now bro's rolling as a top 60 player. He's a top 30 player. He plays 41 minutes a night because someone got hurt. And that was Jabari Smith, and they just went fully into Amen. And I look like I'm just anti-Amen. I love Amen. And it's annoying that I was like, I don't think we could do this. But he's been great. What is this? 33, 10, and 4. Steal, block, 68% shooting. Hit a game winner. This bloke is a stud. And yeah, he might go to the bench. That is true. One thing I do know is he won't play 41 minutes a night. You can lock that in. He will not play 41 minutes a night when Jabari returns. But that is in weeks. The reason you could sell high on Amen is if someone gave you a locked-in top 20 player. It won't happen, but actually, it might happen. Bro's the 11th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. 11. That's a first rounder. How? But that's nothing. That's actually nothing because Dylan Brooks hit 10 threes. What? 36 points, 10 threes. One of the streamiest of stream guys I've ever seen. He attempted 15 threes. He didn't do anything else apart from shoot threes and hit them. That's fine. And we know that, I think, was it the last game where Brooks had 0 points? It might. I got to look because I saw him appear on the Waiver Wire show and I did it yesterday as one of the most dropped players because he stunk the game before. But we know what Brooks is. The minutes floor, and I think I almost said this exactly. The minutes floor for Brooks is there. You know that he is going to get minutes. He is going to have a role. He is going to shoot. Right? He is going to have those chances. You could get nothing, but you could get an absolute bomb of a game. No, it wasn't this one. He had 13 the game before, but the two before that, 4 points and 5 points. What a roller coaster. Just in his scoring. 5, 9, 6, 12, 22, 5, 4, 13, 36. It's crazy. You can't plan for that. You just know that the role is there and it puts you in a good position. Fred VanVleet couldn't shoot, 7 points on 22%. Jalen Green somehow shot worse, 23%. He did have 6 assists though, Green, and VanVleet had 7. And then Tari Eason also couldn't shoot, 20%. Now, I am encouraged with Eason because his minutes had pushed to like 21, 22, and I go, ooh, is his leg sore? But he played 25 here, 6 and 6 with a steal. I would hold him, but also he doesn't at this point have anywhere close to the upside of Amen. He doesn't. That's probably it. Oh yeah, as for Jalen, we're not going to do every single game, are we, my guy? Where you go good, bad, because I can't stop. There's not enough Jollibee in the world that would soothe me from one of those ones. Next one. Well, not next one. Next side of the game, Boston. Eat shit, Boston. Simple as that. Not because you lost, but because of the obfuscation around Al Horford. Al Horford was listed questionable before this game with a toe injury. And they said, no, he's playing and he's starting. All right, sick. Great. Thank you. Love to hear that. That's really great news. That's a bit random, but okay, whatever. He's starting. Done. Actually, psych, he's not. It's Luke Cornett. Okay. Oh, that must mean he's not playing then. And then a member of the Boston media reported, no, Horford is actually still active, available to play, and he was sitting there in his uniform on the bench. And then he didn't play. So, what is it? Was he hurt? Was it the toe? Did he get straight up DNP'd so Xavier Tillman could go out there and look like the worst player in the world? What is it? Because you started him, you benched him, then you DNP'd him. None of it makes any sense. Traded Josh, he's being traded. No, he's not. But it's really frustrating. Because if I had have known that Luke Cornett was starting, we would have considered him. 18 and 7 steal and a block, great. Unbelievable good game. And consider him again the next back-to-back they have. Porzingis continues to shoot the absolute lights out. Didn't take many shots, but had 17 and 8. While Peyton Pritchard played 31 minutes. That's great, because he's been very much down. 15 points with 5 threes. He took just 7 shots, though, and he needed to hit him at 71% to get to this number. So the idea that he isn't a must-roster guy, I think, still holds. Again, it's always hard to balance that when you see someone have 15 with 5 threes. But that's not a realistic outcome. Tatum played 42 minutes. He didn't score, I think, for the first quarter. He ended up with 19, 6, and 7, while Brown had 28, 4, and 4. And Drew struggled. And we are very much at the category league stage of if you have Drew, it's a bit like Toby Harris. I mean, you can, but I'm not sure you need to. I think that's sort of where we sit with it. I should have mentioned that Derek White didn't play in this game. He was questionable beforehand with a knee issue. But he didn't play. So that's part of the reason why Cornett and Horford were even in line to actually start the game. That was my bad. I should have mentioned that earlier on, but that is why Derek White wasn't there, and that is why we had those starting lineup shenanigans to begin with. The next game, the Sacramento Kings and the Brooklyn Nets. The Kings rolled out with their same lineup as usual, but the rotation was a little bit different because immediately your eyes will go and go, Keon Ellis played 30 minutes. That's an interesting development. What happened? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about his game first. 30 minutes for Ellis, 11 points, 3 threes, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Absolutely no one denies that Keon Ellis playing 30 minutes is a must-roster player. It's easy to see. The thing that happened in this one, though, is Keegan Murray played just 24. Keegan Murray had foul trouble. And we saw Sabonis have foul trouble, and Fox had foul trouble, and Monk had foul trouble. 5 fouls to Sabonis, 4 to Fox, 5 to Monk. Now, they all played close to their regular minutes, obviously. 41, 37, 34. But Murray played like 10 fewer minutes, and basically those 10 fewer minutes just transferred straight over to Ellis. Now, could you easily make an argument that Ellis is better than Murray on this squad? Yep, you could. But I'd like to see Doug Christie make that argument first, and not be pushed into it due to foul trouble. If you want to grab Ellis just in case you think it's happening, go for it. But I don't think this is changing of the guard moment. Murray had 9 points with 2 steals. He had started to play well. So again, I'm not worried about him losing a role here. DeRozan, let's see. Let's check in. DeMar DeRozan assist watch. Yeah. One. He is decidedly mid. That was one of the ones that I did get right in the preseason in terms of guys that I'm not that interested in taking at certain ADPs, where he was going in some drafts in the 30s and 40s, and I got him in drafts in the 60s, and I was happy with that. But yeah, he was not likely to do what he'd been doing in the past, was my thought, and it's been worse. Leaky Monk had another 9 assist game, 16, 6, and 9. Foxy, finally, some shots went in, 30 and 7 assists. And Sabonis, a monster, 21, 22, and 10. Triple-double. Not much else to report on that team, but the team that is going to have a lot to report on over the coming weeks and days is the Brooklyn Nets, because we try to decipher what on earth goes on. They were actually able to run out the same starting lineup. And then Noah Clowney lasted 12 minutes, sprained his ankle, and was done. And again, the value in Clowney has been, you're getting little bits and pieces here, and later on, we hope it all comes together when other guys are out of the way, but he's hurt again. So move on. That's totally cool. Drop. Daron Sharp played 23 minutes, 12 and 11 with 3 steals. Now, it is worth noting that Nick Claxton fouled out, played only 25 minutes. But I do believe that there will be a period this season where Sharp was going to be a starter and play 25 and be a top 100 player. I have no idea when that is. It is only like, we'll stash and we'll see what happens. But I don't think Claxton gets traded. But I do think in March, Sharp will have a run. It was also a really good Ev-1-1 game. 15 and 8 with 2 steals for Tosan in 29 minutes. Remembering, Johnson and Thomas are going to be out a while. Simmons might miss a few more with his back issue. It is worth noting, and now Clowney is out. Zaire Williams is the one who started for Clowney in the second half. He had 5 points with 2 steals. He can't shoot. He can get steals at times. He's not super interesting. And then the Keon Johnson roller coaster continued. What did he have last game? 22 points in 36 minutes? He had 10 points in 23 here. Much like with Nick Smith. Much like with so many of these guys. They aren't good. So you'll get good games and you'll get bad ones. And trying to find out when they come it's very tough. Back to Tosan. It's a deep league spot. D'Angelo Russell, until they don't play him, we just roll with him. 19, 4, and 3, while Jalen Wilson was fine, 15, 2, and 4. Shot poorly, but took a lot of them. And he played 40 minutes. And Clowney getting hurt, we'll see how long he's out. But that can help Wilson. I still don't think we're looking at him as a 12-team league player. Let's go on to the next game. We're talking about the Toronto Raptors taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. We are in Toronto for this one, so everyone was sadder than they needed to be. The Raptors win at 113-104. DeJounte Murray returned for the Pelicans. He went straight back to the starting lineup, had 21, 7, and 8, 2 steals and a block, and went straight back to pissing on your percentages. He had 29 from the field and 79 from the line, and his absolutely annoying season continues, and couldn't be happier. If you're not unaware, I don't really like DeJounte Murray. Simple as that. Zion played 27 minutes. He had 31 and 7 with 3 blocks. A 3-block game out of Zion. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And what was the other thing we wanted to watch? What happens to Yves Missi when Zion plays? Does he turn into someone who just farts in your mouth? And unless you're into that thing, that's not really a good result. And we got the old mouth fart. Missi went scoreless. He played under 22 minutes. He blocked 3 shots. Cool. Didn't take a single shot though. Had 5 rebounds. And this is a pattern. Zion plays, he's useless. Zion doesn't play, he is passable. And to me, when your best case is passable, and yeah, it's passable, then I don't care. He is not a 12-team league guy. My stance on him has been relatively rock solid all the way through. There's always going to be changes because when Zion's out long term, you use him and slot him in there. But no, he's not a must-roster guy.
Get that garbage out of here.
Trey Murphy started out really slow. He rescued it with a Richie Beno. He had 14 and 7 with 2 steals, 2 threes, and 2 blocks. And McCollum, did we get a weird game? Of course we did. Can this guy just ever give us anything normal? 2 or 4 from the line now. All right, sick. He ended up with 22 points, but only 2 assists, but now 7 rebounds. He's just like a random stat generator. You never know what's going to come out. It could be anything. It could be the best game you've ever seen or the most incredibly random game of all time. Jordan Hawkins had been playing good minutes. He did not. Jordan Hawkins had been playing well. He did not. He had 7, 1, and 1. And he is literally just a threes guy. That is it. But when the minutes get pumped into him, he receives them and he puts up numbers occasionally. And as always, we know to fight highlight reel bias. We know that aggregator accounts will always go, Jordan Hawkins, fired up, 30 points, 7 threes. The second-year man's making a move, noise making. Have New Orleans found a star? You'll see that garbage everywhere. And then when he goes 7 points with 1 rebound, it'll be no noise at all. because that's fine. I get it what you're trying to do. But for us, we need to determine what happens. You have one good game out of 7, it means jack shit to anybody. It's nothing. So if he starts and he plays 30 minutes, Geordie, then we consider it as a back-end threes streamer. But yeah, not good. Not good. Anything else on that New Orleans side to talk about? Probably not, because now we get to talk about our Toronto Raptors. And let's just start with having a look at their dick. Grady played 19 minutes. He had 10 points. He shot 38%. And he had 5 fouls again. What is wrong with Toronto's dick?
Get that garbage out of here!
I don't understand how bad he is. I have not been the biggest Dick fan. Dick is not someone that I have been fully inflating. Not at all. But I think he should be better than this. You don't roster Dick. You do not need Grady on your team in 12s at all. At all. See you later. Pirtle played through a back issue at 21, 14, and 5 with 3 blocks. You love that. You hate Scotty Barnes shooting 29%, but the other numbers are great. 21, 11, and 8 with 3 steals. And Boucher was fine with Kelly Olynyk out. 14 points, 4 threes. Just a 14-team league option. Rowan Barrett, that stinks, man. Missed all 3 of your free throws, and you were bad from the field. Terrible. And speaking of terrible, Ochai Agbaji returned and had 2 points. But the other name we've got to talk about here is the Shark, Bruce Brown. 12 points in 29 minutes, 3 steals. There's something eye-opening there. It's 29 minutes. And I said this the other day. I don't care if Bruce Brown's doing 17 points in 29 minutes. That doesn't matter. That's not useful. Give me 28 and then we'll talk. Well, we got it. But is it real? Quickly was out. I don't know how long he's going to be out. But more importantly, Dick was under 20 minutes. Are they really going to prioritize Brown over Dick? Is that really? They might. If you wanted to grab Brucey, go for it. But there again, it's always about what are the factors? What led to getting more Brown here? It's the Dick fouling, and it's the absence of Quickly. That's 2 games in a row from from Dick having those huge fouls as well. We'll go on to the next one. Atlanta, Minnesota, and this Hawks team was ravaged by injury. A lot of guys out. Keaton Wallace, he did come in and he did get the start. So, we weren't really, not that we weren't really surprised necessarily by that. Yeah, we weren't 100% sure, but then there was other guys out. Larry Nance started the last game. He was out of this one. So David Roddy started, and then Dyson Daniels was also out. So they slid Zachary Ricochet back into the starting lineup. DeAndre Hunter didn't start. Didn't really matter. He went crazy. 35 points in 32 minutes, and I want you guys to say it with me. I want you to say it with me. You know what I'm going to say. If you're a first-time listener, you don't know what I'm going to say, but you might. So let's say it. He's a field goal merchant. He's a field goal percentage merchant because everything else is shitful. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 steals, 0 blocks for DeAndre Hunter. But he had 35 points. He shot 57% from the field on 21 attempts. How did he get 21 attempts? Well, Jalen Johnson, Trae Young, Dyson Daniels were all out. He went to the line 8 times and hit him. And he has not been hitting shots at all. He's been terrible. He's been outside the top 150 over the last 2 weeks. This is great. But we know what it is. It requires outsized shooting well above his skill level to provide fantasy value because he doesn't do anything else. We know this. I would still hold him as much as I'm not a big DeAndre guy. But we know what this is. Keaton Wallace was solid again. 13, 3, and 7, 2 steals. Keep an eye on tomorrow because A, Trae might play, but B, Wallace will have played 3 games back to back to back if he gets a start tomorrow. So he could be really struggling for minutes, energy, shooting. Just watch that tomorrow. Capella had a nice double-double. He only played 21 minutes, and it is hard to rely upon, but 10 of 15 is no joke. That's really good. And it's at least, I would say it's streamable, while Ricochet returned 11 and 7, 2 threes, 2 steals. Actually not a bad game. But he shot 31%. He continues to be someone I just do not care for in 12-team formats. Terrible Okongwu game. Terrible. 22 from the field. 2 of 4 from the line. 7 and 7. Dreadful. But he played 27 minutes, and I don't actually think that's going to change. And speaking of terrible, it was a terrible Vic Krejci game. 4 points, 33%. But I'm not that worried. He played 34 minutes. He had 6 assists. He had a steal. He had 5 rebounds. I would still roster him. Not much else in this one. David Roddy, the NBA's worst player, had 2 points and 5 rebounds in 8 minutes. Who actually is the NBA's worst player? It is David Roddy, isn't it? This is surely someone worse. Or is there? Or is it just David Roddy? It's probably just David Roddy. Let's go on to the Minnesota side of things. They win at 100-92. I don't know if I told you that score already. Jaden McDaniels, just getting it done with bulk defensive stats. Now, you'd be a little worried that he only shot 7 times for 10 points and 8 rebounds, but 4 steals and a block gets it done, and he is providing good value at the moment. Julius Randle, the double royal, had 20 and 8 and 2 assists. Good game from him. And Gobert had 2 blocks with 18 and 10. Just good numbers across the board. Mike Conley with one of the weirdest games you'll ever see. 11% shooting, 4 points. Shocking, Mike. But 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. That's pretty good. And importantly, he played 31 minutes. In 31 minutes, Mike Conley has value as a 12-team league option. Not a must, but as an option. Because in games that are close, they won't play Rob Dillingham. He played 11 minutes. If it's a blowout, they'll let Dillingham roll. And we saw that last game, 20 minutes versus 23 to Conley. In this one, 31 versus 10. Nickeil Alexander-Walker also got injured in this game after he played 22 minutes. So keep an eye on that. And Naz Reid also got hurt, but he was able to return towards the end of the game. But Conley is borderline for 12s. Dillingham is rostered in 12-team leagues, which is, again, crazy. Please don't do that. He's more of a 16-team league guy. But the opportunity for minutes just isn't there for him because he's not good enough. He's a young, undersized rookie on a team that wants to win games, and you don't win games with salad, and nor do you win it with young, undersized rookie point guards. The Denver Nuggets rolled in to take on the GOATs, the Bulls, and they couldn't do it. Of course they couldn't. Jokic did his best, 32, 12, and 14 at 1-1, 71% shooting up against the defensive juggernaut that is Nikola Vucevic, but it wasn't enough to get the job done. The headmaster had 18, 6, and 6 with 2 steals and 2 blocks from Jamal Murray. Wasn't enough to get the job done. Russell Westbrook played 35 minutes. He had 14, 3, and 5. Wasn't enough to get the job done. But what about Christian Brown? Now, I have not been on the right side of Christian Brown. I think that he was a drop ball player, and then he turns in another gem like this. 28, 5, and 4, 2 steals and a block. It's undoubtedly a brilliant game. He did play fewer minutes than the others and fewer minutes than Westbrook, and that's the concern that I had. And he does, in a different way to DeAndre Hunter, but he does really need unbelievably outsized shooting to get numbers. He shot 73%, but he took 15 attempts, which is a lot. And he brought 2 steals and a block. So maybe after about a 4 or 5 week slump, maybe he's back. Maybe we're going to be feeding the minutes. But I still think that if they do ramp Aaron Gordon back up to 30, it'll be Brown that moves to 25 minutes and not Westbrook. So we just keep an eye on that. As for Aaron Gordon, I do not believe he's a 12-team league guy. 6, 2, and 4 in 22 minutes, while Watson had 3 steals and a block in his 24 minutes, and he's a streamable guy for defense. The Poop Cookie had 18 and 7, Michael Porter Jr. Not really much to talk about there with him. Now, before you do it, we're going to talk Bulls. I also know what you're going to say here. Do you want me to preempt it? You're going to tell me that Zach LaVine is getting traded, and that's why he's out for the next 3 games after this one. He's out for personal reasons. His partner's having a kid, now. That's what's happening. Now, could he get traded? Sure. But he's out because his partner's having a kid. That's why he's out for the rest of this week. Now, he played in this one, LaVine, but what they also did in Chicago, Billy Donovan, he made the switch. He said, no more forwards. We don't care for forwards. We just want all guards. And Pat Williams went to the bench, and Ayo Dosunmu started. Dosunmu played 34 minutes. He had 17, 2 and 2, 2 steals and a block. Now, he missed one of his free throws, which hurts. He wasn't superb, but getting 34 minutes with White out and now LaVine out, that does absolutely bump his value up to be a 12-team league guy. Josh Giddey had 12, 4, and 10 with 3 steals and a block, but only 27 minutes. While LaVine had 21, 3, and 6, and now he's out the next 3. What about Lonzo, though? 18 points, 4 threes. I think you roster Lonzo Ball right at this moment. And then Vooch. Weird game. He got 20 and 10. There's no debating that. That's great. He shot 39 from the field, 22 from 3, didn't attempt a single free throw, and the defensive stats finally fell off. And then he went, but how about here these 6 assists that I'm getting? Just always something random. The shooting, terrible. The volume, awesome. Great. Pat Williams, one of his better games, and that's 11, 8, and 3. That's literally me being truthful, and I'm being genuine. That is one of his better games, and that's how sad it is. 11, 8, and 3, we do not roster Pat Williams. Be interesting to see what they do, though. He probably goes back to start next game, although the first player they brought in off the bench was actually Matas Buzelis, and not Pat Williams. He had 9 and 4. Keep an eye on that. Don't think it'll happen, but I would imagine Dosunmu starts for LaVine, and then Williams moves back into the starting lineup. I think that is probably the direction they will go for the next one. Next game up, the Dallas Mavericks handling business against the Wizards, 130-108 your final score. Alex Sarr played just 11 minutes, hurt his ankle, didn't return. 4 points for him in those 11 minutes. We'll see what happens. Obviously, if you've got the opportunity to, I would try to grab Jonas Valanciunas. Not that he did much here. He only had, 9 and 5, but if they start him, and they may or may not, they might go to Richaun Holmes, be aware of that. Deeper leagues, you want to add him. Or Tristan Vukcevic, I think it'll be Holmes, but just watch for Vukcevic because he had 10 points in 8 minutes here. The better Vooch. Just watch for him. But we'll keep an eye on that Sarr scenario. Keyshawn George started again for Bub. 3 points in 25 minutes. I don't even know that that's worth a stash. Honestly, I don't think it is. While Bub didn't do much either, 7-1-1. I don't think he's worth a stash. Kuzma, who was done fitting in, he was going to make it all about him. He had 7 points on 27%. I guess he did make it about him. He played his best game possible, and that is missing shots. He is one of the most frustrating players in the entire NBA, and again, I think if you made the decision to cut him, you'll feel okay about it. You won't, you'll hate it when he has a big one, but the other games, whatever. Enjoy your long pink sleeves, my guy. Poole had 15, 6, and 6, and Bilal Coulibaly was really good. 16, 4, and 5, and Richie Beno. Now, there were some discussions, debates about the fact that Kuzma was impacting Bilal. So it's good to see Kuzma playing, stinking, and Bilal still doing something good, because that had been lacking a bit. That's great from Bilal. Grab him, and let's see. It's going to be frustrating. But you might just need to wait out some of these games, because it is getting a little bit more consistent now for Bilal Coulibaly. On to the Dallas side of things, we know there's a million of their guys out. This isn't a real test, though, but Gafford just cooked. 24 minutes against his former team, 18 and 8 with 5 blocks. He's going to be an absolute monster down the stretch here through all of these other guys getting hurt. Remember, he was playing 15 minutes a night before they got hurt. Irving had 13 and 5. Quentin Grimes had 9, 4, and 6, which is fine, but we don't need it in 12s. And it was actually a good Klay Thompson game. Remember, though, look who they played. 23 points, 7 threes. Don't scramble to get him. Totally cool not to. And then PJ had 19 and 9, 2 steals and a block. And we actually got a good Gattuso from PJ here. Not much else going on, except they went with a slightly different setup. They went with a lot of Kessler Edwards and Olivier Maxence Prosper. Prosper had 20 points. Wizards. With 2 threes, and Edwards had 7 and 7. I wouldn't overreact to those guys, but with a lot of these players out, they're going to run small with PJ at center, which means more minutes for Prosper. And that's a nice enough deeper league consideration. Shout out to Kyler Kelly as well, who played 8 garbage time minutes after just being signed yesterday, I believe it was. The next one is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Utah Jazz. The Bucks win at 125-110. No Portis, no Big Boom AJ Green. And Chris Middleton played 27 minutes. He went crazy. He had 22 points. But in a true DeAndre Hunter-style game, he shot 77% to get there, had no steals, no blocks, and 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and now probably sits down tomorrow. He's fine. He can have good games. This brings him up to 123rd over the last 2 weeks. So I wouldn't overreact massively, but it does help that Portis was not there. Lillard had 35, 5, and 8. Yanni had 35, 18, and 7. Big numbers from those guys, although Yanni's free throws, man, 3 of 10 is horrendous, clearly. And we got a little bit more out of Taurean Prince. Now, getting a game from Taurean Prince where he gets 8 assists, just either count yourself incredibly lucky that you got it or incredibly unlucky that you were against it, because it's just not what he does. And wouldn't you know it, Gary Trent had 8 points on 22%. He did get you 2 steals. No, he didn't. He got 2 threes, and he had 1 block. But this is the dangers of Trent always. It's always the danger that he can stink at any point. And unlike a Dylan Brooks, who can stink at any point, Trent's minutes are far from guaranteed. And his upside's probably not as high, though. The Jazz, I'm almost ready to retire about talking about this team, so what do I make of it? Because in this one, there was Drew Eubanks starting for Walker Kessler. Out of nowhere, from the top rope, Micah Potter started. What? Bro's been in the G League, and he just comes in and starts over someone who wasn't even out in Mikhail Luke. All right. Cool. They kept Keontae George on the bench. He played starters minutes, 15, 4, and 5. I would hold Keontae. Isaiah Collier started, played 28 minutes, 12, 2, and 8 with 3 steals. Would roster him. Needed a lot of good shooting to get there, though. I still would roster him. And then Sensible played 6 minutes last game. He played 15 here, had 17 points and 5 threes. We need a couple of guys to permanently clear out for Sensible to be a 12-team league guy. I think it'll happen, though. I just don't know when. Markkinen had 9, 10, and 9. He played 36 minutes. Who wants to guarantee there's no chance he plays tomorrow? There's no way. He's just not doing it. And then Colin Sexton had 19, 5, and 4. Also pretty skeptical on him playing. Jordan Clarkson returned. He had 13 points. He shot 33%. He had 5 assists, and he probably sits tomorrow. He's worth streaming in when the situation makes sense. But this is just going to be a constant rotation of nonsense. The two new starters, Eubanks and Potter, well, they're both big men, and one of them shot 14%, and the other one shot 22%, so that's great. Eubanks had 10 rebounds and a steal, and Potter had 4 rebounds and a triple one. But Eubanks will have fantasy value. I'm not really certain about Potter. Don't really think that he'll be that guy. Don't think he's him, so to speak. Now we can do the final game of the day. The Clippers and the Suns, 111-109. Phoenix wins it. Easy, not easy victory at all. 2 points. Nice comeback by the Clippers down the stretch to get the win. They were able to trot out the same starting lineup that they had been through their last couple of games. It appears that Chris Dunn's going to miss the next few as well. And Ivica Zubac's minutes came back up. 34 minutes, 25 and 16, 4 assists, lovely. Jim Harden, 24, 6 and 10, 2 steals, lovely. Norman Powell, pretty good, another solid shooting night. Usage down though. 23, 5 and 2 with 4 steals. His steals were down last game, back up, really good game. And Kawhi Leonard looked probably the best that he had. 17 and 5 with 2 steals and a block. Now, unlike Embiid, Kawhi doesn't have a history of coming back, playing 10 games, getting sore, getting out again, not as much as Embiid. His is more that he comes back and he plays and it's rusty and he gets there eventually and then he gets hurt and it's another long-term injury. So just be aware of that he might have a really strong stretch here. But yeah, there's still significant risk around Kawhi and his knees. Derek Jones Jr., 31 minutes, 12 and 5, 2 steals. That's good enough. I don't see it as anything more than a stream guy though, and their schedule's not particularly strong from here on out. Well, Amir Coffey played a lot as well with no Chris Dunn. 34 minutes for him, as Kevin Porter played only 14 minutes, and Terrence Mann basically out of the rotation. So that's an interesting little development there. Speaking of out of the rotation, well, not quite, but BDNR, Nick Richards. Yeah, 20 minutes, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 43%, no free throw attempts, 4 fouls, a minus 16 in a game they won. He remains bad. Now, he had a really big... It's a little Zach Edey. Against the bad teams, he cooks them. We've seen that twice already. But he's also had 2 absolute stinkers and 1 very mid-game. Because, again, you can say it with me, he's not very good. He can be useful enough. He can have big games. He can have bad ones. And we're going to see that on and off and on and off. But only 20 minutes here for Richards, as the Cockroach played 26. He will not die, Mason Plumlee. You don't roster him, but he will not die. Royce O'Neal started with Ryan Dunn out. He had 11 points. He had 3 threes. He had 4 steals. He's streamable. So is Grayson Allen, who had 18 with 4 threes. A steal and a block. I wouldn't prioritize adding them. Last game with Dunn out, we had 38 minutes from Brad Beal. He was great. In this one, he had 9 points. You can't really drop Brad Beal because those minutes are super important. He had 4 assists and 2 steals too, but man, nothing is working here. While Durant was like, fine. 5 assists, 22 points, 2 steals. Booker had 26, 7 and 7. Like, they're not spectacular. And it was a solid game from Tyus Jones, who, after a really down period, has started to ramp it back up a little bit. But overall, yeah, they get the win, but obviously a lot of concerns still there, and I would say that team is still very much primed for a change. Should we do lines of the night? Let's do it. The monstrous line of the night, it was very, very close up the top here, but we do go with Anthony Davis, 42 and 23 with 2 blocks. Unbelievable performance. The waiver wire line of the night, the best performance from a guy that's available on a large chunk of waiver wires. For this one, we're going to Dylan Brooks. Of course we are. 36 points, 10 of 15 from 3. We might also have to institute a young gun of the night non-Amen division, because this guy, 33 and 10, 4 assists, steal, block, game winner. He's ridiculous. He is cooking fools. And then his brother's teammate may have just nabbed the dud of the night, Toby Harris, the thick hogsman. He was very ungirthy here with his 2-2-1. Don't want to shortchange him. 2-2-1 for the thick hogsman, Tobias Harris. And that is the end of another absolutely ridiculously large recap for National Daisy Day. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the NBA games. I hope you got good performances out of the players on your team. And if you did, give it a thumb. And if you didn't, give it 2 thumbs. Just give it 1. Give it 3, actually. 3 thumbs would be good. But also make sure that you are keeping yourselves positive. Focus on the good. Critique the bad. Work on it. Improve it. Keep your head up. find the good thing that you did, and it's all about building. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.